This is the Guns Magazine podcast, episode number 62. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Magazine podcast. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent T. Thanks for joining us as we talk to the interesting people who make up the world of shooting, hunting, and the firearms industry. This week, I have a fun discussion with Tom McHale, my FMG publishing compatriot and the editor of American Handgunner magazine, on the topic of everyday carry, more commonly known as EDC. Most practitioners of self-reliance carry certain things with them at all times. A typical EDC package includes a defensive firearm, knife, and a light source. But then things get a little murky because everybody's got an opinion about the right stuff you should be carrying. Today, we talk about what's enough, what's maybe too much, and have a short course on how to spot a poser. If you've ever wondered if you're carrying too much or not enough, listen in as I talk to Tom McHale about Irrational EDC and baby ducks. Thanks for joining us on the Guns Magazine podcast.
I know. I feel like kind of a traitor to my cause, you know?
How so?
Being an editor of Handgunner magazine, and here I am on a Guns Magazine podcast. Is that?
No.
Okay. Is this okay?
We're warm and embracing here. We're all for one and one for all and all that.
Unity and acceptance. I like it.
That's it. Okay. That's it. And we need a rainbow flag with, the Handgunner logo on it.
Perfect. That would sell huge, I'm sure.
And I just got shadow banned because I think that was very politically correct. But anyway, moving forward, it's the craziness that's been happening. We'd kind of been talking about our today's topic anyway, and this kind of brings it forward that the world's a really, I don't even know what word to use for what the world is right now, but we were going to talk about EDC, everyday carry. And we are all staunch practitioners of EDC, but we laugh a lot because some folks take it just a bit too far. And I find that both entertaining and sometimes alarming. So we were having that conversation and thought it might be fun to kind of examine some of the don't do this kind of things.
Irrational EDC?
That's a good one. We may call this that. Yeah. Irrational EDC. So what would be a perfect example of irrational EDC?
Well, I think to each his own on that, because I like to carry some extra gear with me. So I'm not sure if you would consider this irrational or not, but personally, I enjoy carrying a gastroplasty kit because you never really know what you're going to run into out there.
Is that a stomach staple thing?
You're walking down the street and all of a sudden, no docs around. You've got to perform an emergency gastroplasty.
Wow.
So I'm not even exactly sure what that is, but I have the kit for it.
Okay.
If needed. So I think it's rational, but I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion.
Well, I wrote a story years ago. I was talking about a buddy of mine, and we've all got this guy that he just carries everything. I mean, literally everything. And the joke I made in print was, I foresee the situation where we're side by side, the sweat's dripping off of us, the camera zooms in tight, and I turn to him and say, "Oh, if we only had a nuclear blasting cap removal tool, we'd all be saved." And he goes, "Well, do you want a 3/8 or a 5/8? And he didn't have a problem with that. And I bet he went out and bought a nuclear blasting cap removal tool. So
does he wear a bat utility belt?
Pretty much.
You can keep everything in that sucker.
Well, we were cops, so we had bat belts, and now they've gotten even worse. But it's fun. But you hit the good point. Being serious about this is, to each his own. Your mileage may vary, and what seems a little over the top to me might be perfectly normal in your environment, in your threat situation, and all that. So I don't think we have a problem with that. It's where we get a little way off the range, and you're that 2%. But before we get there, just talk about your normal everyday carry.
Okay, that's fair. So we're talking about rational EDC.
Rational.
In my view, this is my opinion, and as you wisely said, your mileage may vary. So no insult to anybody out there who carries more or less, but I'll share what I carry, and I kind of have two configurations depending on what I'm doing. So let's talk about every day first. Going to the store, running errands, anytime I leave the house, basically. Yep. I don't know. I might get in trouble for this for not carrying enough gear, but I do
Probably.
always carry a gun.
Yeah.
So usually it is a mid-size to full-size double stack something, or 1911. I do like those, nice and slim to carry inside the waistband. So I always have that. I will confess, I rarely carry a spare magazine on my normal daily routine. I know. I should.
Heresy.
For reliability and backup and extra ammo, but I generally don't. And I kind of go with the odds on that. I know the magazine's the weak point, but I also know that I shoot a lot, and a failure is really, really, really rare.
Yep.
So from a magazine or anything else. So yeah, I kind of live on the wild side with that one. So I do carry a gun. I also carry a pocket knife, and realistically, I don't carry that to be tactical or extra dangerous. It's just something I use all the time, all day, every day. So I don't know, literally 10, 15 times a day, I use a pocket knife for something or other.
Yep.
And the last bit, the cell phone, of course, always have the cell phone readily available. Then the last thing I carry is I have one of those nifty little Swiss keys. It's like a folding thing that looks kind of like a key. It goes right on my key ring. You open it up, and it's kind of a little multi-tool.
Yeah.
Tiny miniature multi-tool. It's got a Phillips and a flathead and a bottle opener and a small flat blade and serrated blade, and I don't even remember what else is on there, but it's just a handy little tool that I've used on occasion. So that's it for the regular, everyday, normal load.
Do you carry a light?
I don't.
Oh, okay. That one I'll disagree with. You got to carry a light. Carry a light.
Kind of. I agree. I should, but I do have a light. I have my phone light, but I also have one of these little key ring lights, and the one I have is not white. It is a red light. So it's more for handy utility use rather than anything than blinding, low flying airplanes or anything like that. So now that's the everyday. So I did say there's a second configuration that is a little different.
Right.
I actually serve on the safety team at our church, and the scenario is entirely different for that. That's a situation where my job isn't to run away and get my family out of there. My job's more to run towards the trouble so other families can get out of there. Right.
Yeah.
So I do carry the other things in that scenario, extra magazines, all the regular stuff, plus extra magazines and a good flashlight. So,
well, and that's pretty much the way I am too. Is the real hardcore EDC guys will tell you your loadout should be always the same, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But if I'm running down to the gas station just down from me at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning, I don't know that I need to fully kit up. Like if I'm going to downtown Indianapolis on a Friday night at 9 p.m. and I got to drive through the east side or whatever, those are two different threat levels. Yeah. And having said that, I know bad things can happen anytime, and I preach that you can't guarantee when it's going to happen. However, I don't think it's unreasonable that I don't carry a slung shoulder weapon when I'm going down to the gas station, whereas when I'm driving through certain areas, I've probably got a rifle, shotgun, nuclear, tip bazooka or something in the car. But anyway, normally my kit is, of course, probably a double stack 9, or sometimes I carry my Commander 45. I generally try, and I'm not perfect, I generally try to carry a magazine. And again, if I'm just running down to the store and I've just thrown some shorts on, I may just tuck inside the waistband and not take my spare magazine. But generally anymore, I carry 2 guns, and right now I've got a small pocket gun that is my backup. And I always remember I was talking to Masad Ayub. I had breakfast with him about a year ago, and we got on this topic, and he goes, well, of course Moss, well, the older you get, the more guns you tend to carry. I thought, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it drove me crazy as a cop. Some of the young guys, they just wouldn't carry. We didn't have a mandatory off-duty policy, which makes sense because you don't want to, that's too specific. But I always preach to all my guys. It's like, man, you got to carry all the time. And a lot of them wouldn't. And all I could figure was my hands they're a registered death-dealing weapon. I can handle whatever's going on. And the older you get, the more you realize, I don't know that I could take on an 18-year-old meth head with a knife. So
or a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So I tend to carry a couple of guns, but I always have a flashlight with me. And my favorite, we've talked about it, that little Streamlight Micro, the little bitty one that's just bright as all get out. And you can recharge it, which mine just recharged today after using it at my new house, looking in the crawl space and all that kind of stuff. So it's wonderful, and it's teeny tiny. It's smaller than a tube of chapstick, and it is just so absolutely useful. Now, in my full EDC loadout kit, I will carry a second bigger flashlight, but again, that would be a situation where I think there's a pretty good chance I may have to use a tactical light, so to speak, to ID a target or, get us out of trouble or something. And of course, a pocket knife, which I don't consider a weapon, even though it could be used as such. But that's my main kit. Sometimes I will add like a IBD and Israeli battle dressing, or your favorite flavor of that, and a tourniquet. I've got a ankle rig for those, but that would be something where I'm going to a major event where I'm not
like Mogadishu.
Mogadishu.
Okay.
Well, I had an interesting experience. I interviewed a couple of buddies who, if you remember, a few years ago, the Indiana State Fair had a pretty widely seen. It was the I'm forgetting the name of the band. A big thunderstorm blew up right before the band went on stage, and the video of it was all over the internet. The whole stage collapsed down on the crowd, and that's only 12. Yeah. I can't. I can picture the band, and I can't think of the name. And I know listeners are screaming, it's blah, blah. And yeah, you're right. But anyway, but I had a buddy there that was a deputy, and he waited in there. So there's no tactical aspect to that, but he always said, I will never be without gloves in public ever again. And I thought, wow, because he literally was helping, bring the dead and wounded out. And he said he would have given $1 million for a pair of gloves at that point, because you just don't know, a disease will kill you as dead as a bullet. So if I'm in a public, if I'm going to the state fair, for example, I will put an IBD and maybe a tourniquet and probably some gloves in my little ankle rig. And again, I'm not necessarily going to be the medic on scene. I'm worried about me or my family. And if one of them, gets stuck on a piece of broken glass and they're bleeding hard, I mean, the medics are coming and I'm calling 911, but I'm going to stop the bleed first. So again, that's one of those where I kind of assess the situation and figure out. And I will also add, and I think you go in this boat too, in our vehicles, or if we're going to be away from our vehicle, we tend to carry like a man purse or something. We're going to have some of that stuff readily available. So, and again, it's whatever works for you. That's a good
point, because I think there are layers. I have, in both of our cars, I keep full med kits and a tourniquet in each car. And by full, I mean, it's fairly comprehensive. The gastroplasty kit I carry, but so I always have that. But in the car itself, gauze dressings, quick clot gloves, tape, loose bandages, tourniquet, the whole ball of wax, because the odds of having to use it for gunshots are exceptionally low. The odds of being the first responder on a traffic accident or some other kind of accident are almost 100% in your lifetime. So, absolutely. That to me seems very rational.
So we've talked about rational EDC. Now let's go into irrational EDC. And the phenomenon started with the mall ninja. If you've ever heard that term, you need to go look it up. And it started on a forum on the internet. And a guy, I've read the exchange because I've written a story about it. And he started out that I'm a security guard at a major mall in, the United States. And I don't know if it was wonderful satire or somebody who's horribly mentally ill. I'm leaning towards satire. And in fact, Tom, I would almost bet you probably wrote it. But
I wish I had, because I know we're talking about the same guy. He was brilliant.
Oh, fantastic.
You're talking about the one who said he wanted to wear multiple chest plates because his strategy was to throw himself between rifle gunfire and his partner.
Exactly.
To stop incoming fire while she shot back or something.
Yep. And he needed a 300 Win Mag on their emergency response vehicle, which was a golf cart.
That was the best trolling ever.
So it was the best satire ever, I think. But that's where the term mall ninja comes from. And we see those guys pretty regularly. And I'm alternately amused and horrified. And my big thing is we were just at an event recently, and this guy, I could tell he was kind of overstating his operational experience, shall we say.
Yeah.
And he was a mall ninja.
Probably means he had none, right?
Basically. But he was talking the talk, walking the walk. He looked the part. And I turned to the person that was with me and I said, I'll bet you $5 he's got a tourniquet on his belt prominently displayed. And he did. He had a tourniquet, and he had a med kit, and he had dual guns, and he had multiple knives, and the whole 9-yard shoot match. And of course, he had the 511 pants and the 511 shirt and a 511 watch and a paracord wristband, of which I own all that stuff myself. But it was the whole ensemble and the way he was talking and walking. And it was just the fact that I knew the guy was going to have a prominently displayed tourniquet on his belt. And again, I'm not poo-pooing the tourniquet. It was the fact that the way he was wearing it was so we all saw that he had a tourniquet.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because to me, the interesting thing about that's kind of difficult about quote unquote irrational EDC is that pretty much anything can sound like a good idea.
True.
Hey, carrying a tourniquet all the time. That's a great idea. You never know what happens. That's true.
Yep.
Same with a gastroplasty kit. So you never know, right? And
exactly.
An airway kit, or who knows, where does it end? So that's kind of the challenge, because it doesn't necessarily sound ridiculous. So I'd like to ask you about that. You said you carry a tourniquet on occasion, higher risk.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but totally get that. I have one in my car. Do you think it's irrational for someone to carry a tourniquet somewhere on their person all the time?
No, but again, I guess it's a matter of degrees. In this situation, I think it was more not even the issue of a tourniquet. It was the issue of how it made part of his costume, shall we say. Right. And you definitely got
that's a good word.
Yeah. And that's kind of the next point I was going to make. And that's kind of, I look at the difference being, if you're carrying because you really think you're going to need a tourniquet, okay, I'm totally good. If you think you need 5 tourniquets on because of your situation, I wouldn't make fun of you for that. But when it becomes part of your costume, and I hate to use this word, but it's true, lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then you leverage that all the time. The guy that we've all seen where he throws his jacket off at a restaurant and makes sure everybody sees his gun. Where you can do that. Some places you can't. But around here, most places you can wear a gun, but there's guys who make a big deal out of it. And they might not even say anything, but, they're kind of like leading around with their hip thrust out in front of everybody. So you see they're carrying a gun, and it's typically a way over the top kind of gun. And guys do that with EDC and prepping stuff. And it's a lifestyle. And EDC shouldn't, by definition, it is a lifestyle, but I'm using the uppercase L lifestyle.
Yeah, I don't see carrying a tourniquet as an abnormal thing.
Right.
I don't. Maybe I should. I don't. I have one fairly close by, which in certain circumstances would bring precisely 0 value, but in others, all the value. So I guess it's a matter of odds, percentages, and degrees. All of this, right?
Yep. Well, and kind of like I was saying, just motivation. Are you doing this because? And I'm absolutely 10,000% guilty of this in my younger day. Okay, especially going to the SHOT Show. Everybody's got 511 pants on. Everybody's wearing some kind of coyote or desert tan boot. Everybody's carrying a tactical looking backpack. Everybody's got the paracord bracelet. Now everybody's got a beard. And we're kind of playing dress up. And it is such a ubiquitous look now that as I get older, I understand this whole idea. I love gray man. And gray man doesn't mean wearing all gray, even though it can, because I've got a lot of gray stuff here. But it's, if you're going to wear some kind of tactical pant, how about you buy some Wranglers, some work pants. And I search far and wide for a backpack that doesn't look like it's housing, a nuclear warhead. And I think the more people get into this, and especially the older they get, they realize, I don't want you to know I'm Mr. Preparedness. I just want to be one of the little sheeple out there doing their thing. And then if I choose to do something to intervene in a situation, you won't consider me a threat until it's too late. But more importantly, you're not going to single me out as a threat. And when my main goal is, I don't want to look like a threat. I want to look like a scared guy getting his family out of harm's way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I absolutely agree with you on that. And I find myself, when I choose what to wear on a daily basis, I always shy away from all the cargo pockets and all that stuff. Now I wear good gear by tactical manufacturers, especially in the shirt department, but the ones I choose, you'd never know that. I choose them because they have features like fake buttons that are really snaps, because I carry inside the waistband. So, that's one of the biggest hangups for IWB carry, is your shirt getting caught up in a rapid panic type situation.
Yeah.
So having those snaps, really makes a difference. So, but you wouldn't look at it and say, oh, that's a tack shirt,
What I'm wearing, it's a Vertex concealed carry shirt, and it's got little snappy buttons. And our joke is, like, when I'm getting ready for bed, I kind of do the rip open. And my wife laughs at me. It's like, really?
Don't do that now, okay?
Well, I was going to, and I thought, well, then you would gag all over the microphone, and because I've got that rounded aerodynamic physique. I don't have, my six pack is turned into a case. So so that's what makes it really funny when I do my wah and pull my shirt open like a Chippendale dancer, and there's not a Chippendale body under there.
And show all the knives and guns in your belt and everything, right?
Exactly. So how many knives is too much?
I carry one, or to own or to carry.
If you're talking owning, oh my Lord.
Oh, okay. None are too many to own, because they're just fun tools.
Exactly.
But I guess technically, now that I think about it, I guess I do carry two knives. Mm-hmm. One that's, quickly accessible and usable, but that other little key tool actually has a half-inch blade or so.
Yeah,
that doesn't really count from a
tactical standpoint
perspective. It's not a defensive weapon unless things have really gone badly.
Yep. I've got, my keychain's got that and those little squeeze lights, because that's your backup light.
Yeah.
And
that's the one I know.
Yeah.
The little squeeze light. So.
And I've heard stories like on 9/11 of guys going down stairwells leading people with those little keychain lights, because it's not great, but it's better than pitch darkness.
It's enough.
Yeah, exactly.
You've kind of inspired me to make a New Year's resolution here, because I have you were talking about small lights. I do have a Streamlight pen light. Mm-hmm. And this one's, I think it's AAA powered, but it's a powerful little light, and it's not much, if any, bigger than a standard ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
So if you're wearing a shirt or something of that, you know what? Now, see, you're making me think now of what I really do have, because I do have extra gear in my briefcase all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of scenarios here. Am I going to the Quickie Mart without a briefcase? Okay, I don't have a light, a good one.
Yeah.
Am I going anywhere with my briefcase? Yes, I've got much more stuff at my disposal there.
Yep. And, that's one of those things that it may not be a shooting situation, but if the power goes out, you can die trying to go down a stairway in the pitch dark. Or, the elevator and the power goes out. You hope the emergency lighting comes on, but we've all seen that kind of stuff isn't guaranteed. So, that's how I look at a light saving your life. It's not that it's going to blind your attacker or, ID the guy before you shoot him, which it can do, but I think the odds are 99% it might make your life better or safer, because you can see problems, whether it's you going down a dark hallway or, not stepping through a door that there's nothing on the other side of that door because there's been a building collapse. So that's, short of a 7D cell mag light, I don't think you can carry too much light on you.
Well, hey, it happens. I was in a hotel once for an event somewhere, and it wasn't, it was a Holiday Inn or something. Yeah. It was a normal, middle of the road hotel, and they had a complete power failure, and the emergency system failed too. There was nothing. So, and it lasted for 6-7 hours.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of nice to have some lights in my briefcase.
Well, exactly. And that's the other thing about EDC stuff. It makes your life easier. It may not save your life per se, but it'll make your life a heck of a lot easier.
Hey, can we come back to something?
Sure.
Since I guess we're loosely in the irrational carry. What do you think about the 2-gun scenario? I know you mentioned you do it sometimes. I've done it on occasion. Yeah. I don't have a strategic plan for that, but sometimes I just feel inspired and do it.
Honestly, I probably would feel okay not carrying 2 guns. I think there's a couple issues here. If I'm going to the gas station on Tuesday morning, I don't feel compelled to carry 2 guns, even though I try to get in this habit of doing it. But it's one of those things. I think if your gun goes mammary glands up, is that politically correct? If it goes teats up,
I don't know.
Now you got a club or a big rock. So even with a tiny little gun that I wouldn't necessarily carry into a full bore gunfight, but at least you've got a few more options. And I know a lot of guys carry a full size, identical gun as a backup. To me, that I choose not to do that, even though I guess that makes absolute perfect sense. I just choose not to do that, but I do feel better knowing there's a tiny little gun to back up that first gun. And the other thing to think about too is we always focus on guns, breaking or jamming or whatever. People lose guns. I've done it. I've done it as a cop chasing people. I can tell you endless stories but in my own case, in a foot pursuit and suddenly reaching down and there's nothing in your holster. And that's the most horrifying feeling in the world. And fortunately, mine didn't turn into a gunfight. But if it had been in that particular moment, that was very early in my career, I would have just had to stand there and get shot. And that was probably my epiphany moment when I realized you really got to have a plan B. And, that's kind of, I preached that my entire life. I've tried to live it. And honestly, that's some of the internal peer pressure, so to speak, about why I carry a second gun. Because on that weird, odd chance I get involved in this horrific situation, it probably wouldn't look real good, Mr. Know-it-all, fancy pants, tactical rider, and he didn't even have a second gun. Maybe that shouldn't be my motivator, but honestly, it kind of is.
Well, even in the everyday non-law enforcement world, you get involved in a mugging or a scuffle and you're on the ground. Most holsters that people use are not going to hold on to a gun.
Exactly.
In that scenario, I'm kind of a fanatic on good holsters and quality holsters that will keep it on your body through some pretty vigorous, moving around and tumbling. But any of these soft holsters that, are nice and comfy and felt like your gun's gone when you start fighting. So.
Well, if people, look on the internet, there's plenty of videos, even big time, level 3 duty holsters. It's pretty easy for a really aggressive or crazy or strong person just literally tear it off your belt. I mean, it happens. And some of these very inexpensive, $25 holsters that people put a $900 or $1,000 gun in, the holster doesn't even have to break. It's the clip. That's how I judge a clip-on holster. Most of them don't pass muster because that clip. How many have you got like that, Tom? That you've caught it on a door frame and it pretty much ripped the holster off.
Breaks off. Yeah.
Yeah.
None anymore.
Well, exactly.
They get identified and tossed.
Yep. So losing your gun is, I talk about law enforcement, but I mean, regular earth people lose guns too. And if you're ever in a situation where you need a gun and you don't have one, it's just the worst feeling in the entire freaking world.
So don't do that is your advice, right?
So, and I can't believe we've gone this far and we haven't mentioned it. 2 is 1, 1 is none. And that's absolutely true. And that's why I kind of focus on 2. I figure if you get beyond 2, either you're a real tactical, super uber ninja warrior, or you might be a poser. And
I have a minigun turret in my car in my Sequoia. Does that count as a second, or is that because it's not always on my person?
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know how you view that.
So would you consider off-body carry as your second gun? Because I do that too occasionally, go into meetings, same thing, briefcase. I've got a tactical briefcase with the hidden compartment and all that. And generally when I do it, I carry a full-size second gun and reloads because it makes it a lot more convenient, especially if you're in a suit jacket or something. But just makes you feel a little better.
Yeah. And I'm not one of these binary people. I prefer on body carry always, but there are times when you just have to go with off body for some reason.
Yeah.
And I recognize in advance the drawbacks, and there are scenarios where it won't work. And I have to be a heck of a lot more careful about my bag, where it is, you know. And,
that's the part I hate. You know, and it's so easy. I've done this in meetings. Hey, okay, bathroom break, you know, we'll rejoin things here in 10 minutes. And you walk away and suddenly realize, I've left a gun unattended. Nobody knows it, but there's a gun sitting there, and you beat feet back there. And
it's very easy to do.
Exactly. So something you got to be really careful about. Generally, I don't do it anymore. If it's going to be a long meeting, I make sure I've got a gun on me. But like if I go to a short meeting that I know is going to be an hour, no breaks or whatever, I absolutely probably have a briefcase between my feet that has Daddy's Little Helper in it, just in case things go sideways.
That was a Rolling Stone song, wasn't it? Daddy's Little Helper?
Mother's Little Helper. That was it. That was it. I think one thing that we've kind of touched on, but without touching on, is this whole idea of do as I say, not as I do, because we're guilty of that. We're gun writers. Yep. We are armed to the teeth at all times with multiple spare magazines and knives and guns and tourniquets. And there's guys in our business that say that. And I know for a fact they're not that way. There's a few. There are definitely a few. You know, I won't mention names, but there's a couple of guys I know that they are armed with 3 guns all the time. But they don't make a big deal out of it. But anybody that tells you they always do that, it's the rare individual that actually meets that standard.
3 guns. Yeah. So you never know when a competition might break out, you know. Is that a shotgun, a rifle, and a pistol?
Well, you're talking about some of your guys too, so be careful there. But again, kind of going back to this rational versus irrational, I don't have a problem with that. If you want to carry 5 and you think you're justified in carrying 5, knock yourself out. Yeah. I guess kind of the genesis of this whole episode was just when it gets to be this thing where you're making a big deal out of it, you make sure everybody knows, you know, and again, we've all been in that situation. Well, I carry 5 of them, and they start showing you and all this stuff. It's like, why? You know, just keep it to yourself. Your EDC stuff, unless you're talking to somebody about EDC like we're doing now, that's between you and your underwear.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be. Because
Gray man. Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you talk much about EDC in, say, work settings, and again, if you and I are having lunch and, well, you know, what do you carry, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But if you're the guy that's, well, you know, if something happens here, I've got 7 guns and 3 knives. And, you know, it's like, hey, Bill, you know, hey, man, it's going to rain today. Yes, I know, but I'm prepared with my 3 guns and 7 knives. You know, okay. You're being ridiculous. I'll say it, and I'll get the hate mail, you know.
You've got me a little concerned here because I'm in a work setting right now.
You are.
Talking about EDC for like 30 straight minutes.
Yeah.
So am I that guy?
No. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about it. It's the topic of conversation. But especially like in the lunchroom at work, you've seen these guys that, you know, there's a bunch of the ladies sitting, and they're doing it to impress you. It's generally a younger guy. You know,
yeah.
Oh, well, I'd like to sit there, but my gun is chafing me, you know. That's, well, you know. And it was just to impress.
Couldn't agree more. No one knows I carry.
Exactly.
My wife does. My kids know.
Yeah, because they need
Outside of that.
Unless you're talking shop, you know, we're talking about loads and manner of carrying and stuff like that, like we are right now. Yeah. But just trying to bring up how prepared you are in a conversation with people that didn't want to know how prepared you are, that is getting into irrational EDC in my book. If we're talking about EDC and safety and taking care of yourself and your family and your friends, just be the gray guy. We don't need to know, you know. People shouldn't see your gun. They shouldn't see all your tactical stuff, you know. And we're joking about it, but I feel pretty strongly about that. You know, you should just be a guy or a gal or whatever you choose to identify as.
That's your biggest tactical advantage.
Absolutely.
Is anonymity.
Yep. It gives you options.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've always said my favorite guys, and I got a friend that lives just around the corner from me. This guy has been there, done that multiple times, multiple shootings. I mean, just every kind of thing you could imagine in a big city. And normally he wears bib overalls and what we call a gimme cap, you know, John Deere or a Funk Seed gimme cap. And he looks like a farmer. But yet he's the kind of guy, and he's older now. I mean, he's well into his retirement. And physically, I don't know how long he'd last with Mike Tyson, but I guarantee you he'd pull out some weapon or he'd just shoot you right in the face and be done with it. And those are the guys that I think are so cool because they are skilled at what they do, but they don't have to flaunt it in any way, shape, or form. To me, that's cool. Any closing thoughts there, Tom?
Be consistent. I think that's probably the most important thing. We all have different opinions on what makes sense given our lifestyle and daily travels to carry on a regular basis. But I think the scariest thing to me is I won't need that because I'm not going anywhere dangerous.
Yeah.
So if you've chosen the lifestyle to be prepared and defend yourself and your family, you don't get to make that call. You don't get to decide where is going to be dangerous and where is not. If you knew what was going to be dangerous, you shouldn't be going there at all, ever.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, seriously. You don't get to choose that. The other guy gets to choose that. Whether it's a bookstore, a Starbucks, a gas station, a church, a school, who knows, not your call. So I think my biggest parting thought would be whatever your well thought out plan is, do it every time because you don't get to make the decision when you might need it.
With me, it's the whole idea of if you choose to carry a weapon, a gun, handgun or whatever, do it. Because I know so many people that, I just carry it if. Well, as Tom just said, you really don't get to choose when. And I'm sure I'll catch some blowback for admitting that I don't arm to the teeth when I go down to the gas station, but at least I am armed. I have thought about what I'm going to do, and that's the other part of it. EDC really does encompass just being aware, situational awareness, and I don't just walk blindly into the store without at least looking inside and kind of seeing what people are doing. So I realize, I'm not armed to the teeth, fully prepared for an armed confrontation, but I also don't walk around with my head, inserted other places. So hopefully by doing that on a regular basis, as you said, making it a habit, I can avoid the vast majority of situations. And, that's going to be another podcast for another time, is the whole situational awareness, because that's where, honestly, I think most people do fail. Craniorectal inversion. And we're all guilty of it at times, but you have to minimize those times as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. Keep your phone in your pocket when you're in public.
Oh my. If you get run over,
it's almost that simple.
If you get run over in a crosswalk because you're texting, you deserve it. They've just thrown some chlorine in the gene pool. I'm sorry. So, well, is there anybody we haven't offended yet, Tom?
Puppies.
Yeah. Don't kick puppies. They're cute. And they got that puppy breath. That's the coolest thing, isn't it? Them little needle teeth and puppy breath. You don't even know what to say.
I don't. I'm dumbfounded. So.
Yeah, well, okay. I like puppies. I like puppies, and I like little baby ducks.
There you go.
They're cute. Sidebar, I did write a story one time about that where I said, I'm a guy and shooter and da but little baby ducks are cute. Because they are, man. Even full-grown guys are like, oh, look, baby ducks, how cute. So, anyway, puppies fall in the same category, especially bird dog puppies.
That's right.
So, anyway, all right, man, talk to you later.
All right, have a good one.
Hopefully you picked up a few pointers from our talk, or at least feel like you're doing things the best way that fits your lifestyle. And with that, we hope you're enjoying the Guns Magazine podcast. Please tell all your friends, even the liberals. Guns Magazine is #1 in the business, and we're using our decades of friendships to bring you the most interesting chats in the gun world. If you've got questions or comments, please drop me a line. That's editor@gunsmagazine.com. Make sure you don't miss out by subscribing to us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Of course, you can always listen and download our episodes at gunsmagazine.com, and we'd all appreciate it if you'd share a favorite episode on your own social media channels. And while you're online, don't forget to check out our great sister publication, American Handgunner magazine, at americanhandgunner.com. That's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. On behalf of our hardworking staff here at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. Now get out there and get shooting.